sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear.
Hello friends, welcome once again to the YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to take a listen to Candace Owens, and we're going to share some perspective on, wow, some serious bombshell reporting here. And I'm late for the news. I'm just finding out about this. And again, I wouldn't really care so much about Kamala Harris, get it the name right before they call you a racist.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Who is Kamala Harris?
I wouldn't really care too much about this if the media didn't make such a big deal about her skin color. For me, it's like, let her candidacy run, let her presidency show, let her bring forth her policies, and let people make the decision whether or not she's going to be a proper candidate or president for this country. But it became about an issue of skin color, which I hate having this discussion over and over again, because I think it really is, it's nonsense. It doesn't get anything done. But nevertheless, since we live in a culture where this is a thing, I mean, we have to respond and react to this. So Candace Owens got some serious bombshells here. Boy, this is why a woman like Candace Owens is significant. This is why the type of truths that she's bringing on the channel needs to be heard, because what she's revealing is shocking. Because of the context things have been placed politically, okay? That's why it's shocking. For me, I'm like, I don't really care so much, but because of the context and what the media has made when it comes to the skin color issue, almost as a motivation factor for voting for her. Why would I vote for her? Because your skin tone. Anyway, some people do. Some people will. But Candace Owens got some stuff to share, and it is shocking. So link in the description below. Like and subscribe to the page. Click the bell icon for more. Let's take a listen to this.
All right, so let's recap. Yesterday, I can admit I was completely triggered. I was triggered by the manner in which the Guardian, or a Guardian reporter rather, treated Janet Jackson in a profile piece. It was very obvious they were trying to do the wacko jacko bit again, like they did with her brother. So to remind you, Janet Jackson brought up in her interview human trafficking, child trafficking, and the journalist then decided to heavily imply that Janet Jackson was just nuts to pretend that we have a child trafficking issue in this country. And then when the reporter switched gears and asked her about supporting Kamala Harris as the first female black president, you know, Hollywood's all got to get in line and support this woman or else, Janet Jackson simply said that she had heard that Kamala was not black and that she was in fact Irish, and the media predictably went completely crazy. I mean, here are some of the headlines here. NBC, Janet Jackson tells interviewer she's heard Kamala Harris is not black, echoing election disinformation. Oh, love that word. Newsweek, Janet Jackson's Kamala Harris remarks spark black backlash. The Independent, she's not black. Janet Jackson makes shocking comments about Kamala Harris's heritage. And of course, the New York Times, Janet Jackson repeats false claims about Kamala Harris's race. False claims. So to be clear, all Janet Jackson said was, quote, "That's what I heard, that she's Indian, that her father's white. That's what I was told. I mean, I haven't watched the news in a few days. I was told that they discovered that her father was white." Okay? That is all that she said that led to all of this craziness in the media trying to paint her like she was some sort of a psycho. And then her manager, a guy named Mo El Marzi that I'm showing you a picture of here, he offered an apology on Janet Jackson's behalf to BuzzFeed. He said, quote, "Janet Jackson would like to clarify her recent comments. She recognizes that her statements regarding Vice President Kamala Harris's racial identity were based on misinformation. Janet respects Harris's dual heritage as both Black and Indian and apologizes for any confusion caused. She values the diversity that Harris represents and understands the importance of celebrating that in today's society. Janet remains committed to promoting unity and understanding," end quote. And guess what happened? Janet Jackson fired him immediately. and said that he was not authorized to make that statement at all, and she was not apologizing because she was not sorry, and good for her. I'm glad she fired him. I am so tired of people being so fake, having to apologize for something that should not have yielded any response from the media. In fact, it should have been the opposite. They should have went ahead and investigated the claim that Kamala Harris is Black, gotten to the bottom of it fully. But instead, it was a media pylon. And then, after being fired, Mo added to that pylon by referring to Janet Jackson as unbalanced. Like, the person who just worked for her came out and was like, she's unbalanced. I mean, with friends like that, who needs enemies? Then came me. I don't know. I guess I really am the person that has been in these streets, Kamala, because I decided to simply look into her genealogy. Because why on earth is the world trying to convince me that this woman is suddenly Black? Like, they just decided she was Black because she's running, and because there is evidence, it is true, that her father grew up in Jamaica. Your race does not magically change because of where you grow up, okay? If I grow up in Sweden, I don't get to suddenly say I'm white, okay? And what I discovered was quite startling. Now, I'll ask you, when did you first get the idea that Kamala was Black? Well, you'll say, yeah, when she kind of started running with Joe Biden. And that claim really came from Kamala herself. When they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, they understood that. Kamala Harris published a book in 2019 called The Truth That We Hold. And presumably the book was filled with truth that she was holding. I had a look through it, and I saw this picture of her and her grandmother, clearly a Black-looking grandmother, on page 282 in the photograph section. It reads, as you can see, visiting my paternal grandmother, Beryl, in Jamaica. Also on that same page, there's another photo of her. Again, you can see it's black and white. I'm not quite sure why it is black and white, but it says, when I was 10 months old, I visited Spanish Town, Jamaica. This is me with my mother and my paternal grandfather, Oscar Joseph. And now this guy looks mixed. He looks Asian of some description, but you can see the idea here is that she's definitely trying to introduce, in a manner of photos, things that make her race look more complicated. So I just decided to investigate that, and immediately things got weird, very weird. First and foremost, because it was very easy for me to determine via just a light search online that Beryl, her alleged paternal grandmother that you just saw, died 4 years before Kamala was born in 1960. So last night we decided to continue our research to see if we could find birth certificates and marriage certificates and death certificates, which could further signify those points, and indeed it did. And it also raised even more questions about her genealogy. So let's go through those. Here is the birth certificate for her paternal grandmother. This is Kamala's paternal grandmother, Beryl. Okay, now you can see on this birth certificate that Beryl is spelled with an I. It's Beryl Magdalene. And you can see the reason why we know this is the correct Beryl is because the mother is listed as Iris Finnegan. Later on, we're going to show you in the book, she names Iris Finnegan as her great-grandmother. So that would be Beryl's mother. So we have the right woman. Also, formerly, her maiden name is Allen. That is true. It also says here that she's born in October of 1917 in St. Anne. That's the St. Anne parish of Jamaica. And again, you can see it says that it is signed by Iris Finnegan. Very clearly, this is the woman that we are looking for. This is Kamala's grandmother, alleged grandmother, Beryl. It's also interesting, by the way, that it lists her great-grandmother as a seamstress because Donald Harris, Kamala's father, wrote in a 2020 piece called Reflections of a Jamaican Father, quote, Miss Iris, that again would be his grandmother, was the mother of 8 children, too, was the sweetest and gentlest person one could meet, but underneath it was a tough farming woman who ran the cane farm at Thatch Walk near Annan Town, jointly owned with her husband, Mr. Christie. Okay, that's weird. So you're telling me that she ran a farm because on that birth certificate it says that actually Iris was a seamstress, but whatever. Let's just park that aside for a second and stick with Beryl, this woman who died before Kamala was born, okay? Because I was feeling pretty certain that not too many people were going to be named Beryl and be born in the St. Anne parish of Jamaica in 1917 to a mother named Iris Finnegan. I felt confident that we could find a little bit more data, and in fact, we did, okay? First, we stumbled across Beryl's marriage certificate. Okay, so you can see that right here. And now the name spelling has changed. You have Beryl Finnegan spelled with a Y in the same way that Kamala spells it. And it lists their married date as 1944. Again, you can see the parish that is listed is St. Anne Parish. This is where every piece of Beryl's life seems to take place. It reads here that her calling is a barmaid. And something that jumped out at me was the fact that she's married to someone, as you can see, named Lawford Newland. Okay, so Beryl apparently was married more than once because Lawford Newland is not Donald Harris's father, but Beryl is his mother. So just to be clear, again, it says that she married a guy named Lawford Newland in 1944. When she was 25 years old, okay? It's important to note that that would have been 4 years after she gave birth to Donald Harris, Kamala's father. I find that to be very strange. Also, regarding Kamala's father, we cannot seem to locate, regarding Lawland Newland, the person that she married, we can't find him. Can't find him anywhere. We cannot find a birth certificate. We cannot find a death certificate. We can't find a news item or otherwise. I cannot find this alleged Lawford Newland that apparently her grandma got married to. We also can't find a wedding certificate for Beryl and Oscar Wilde Joseph Brown Harris. That is allegedly supposed to be Donald Harris's father. Okay, so Kamala's grandfather is Oscar Wilde Joseph Brown Harris, and we can't find a marriage certificate between the two of them. That's very strange. As speculated, we were able to confirm that Kamala's Black grandmother that she showed us in that picture died in 1960, before Kamala was born. I can show you right now her death certificate. Let's take a look at Beryl's death certificate, which confirms. As you can see there, it says that she died in July of 1960. It also tells us on the right-hand side, you guys will probably have to zoom in on this, but she died of a uterine infection, uterine fibroids due to a hysterectomy. It has her listed as 39 years. That's actually a couple of years off from 1917, so somebody may have gotten their math wrong here. But you once again see that it lists her birthplace as St. Anne, and
It's so interesting how much of a work she's doing here. This is what the media actually should be doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, independent media is not supposed to be doing this. Well, again, praise God for people who are doing their work. This is something you should have learned about from the mainstream media, but it's been hijacked and become a political propaganda machine. But this is actually amazing, the stuff she's discovering here. So it's very obvious, based on the evidence here, Kamala Harris is not exactly who she claims to be. And now we have a lot more questions that we can ask, and I think she has a part 2 and a part 3 to this video. So you kind of have to follow the trajectory of her message, and a lot more could be said. But let's finish this thing.
So this is a huge scandal. Just an absolutely huge scandal. Kamala Harris published in her book that she was standing next to her grandma Beryl. But Grandma Beryl died in 1960, 4 years before Kamala Harris was born. So who the hell is the real Beryl? Who is that woman standing next to Kamala Harris? And do you know what I noticed about that woman standing next to her? She looks a lot like the woman that Kamala claims in her book is her great-grandmother, Iris. Now, that's Iris Finnegan. Here's the book with my great-grandmother, Iris Finnegan in Jamaica. Now I'm going to give you the side-by-side of Iris and her alleged daughter, Beryl, who died at 39. Now, that woman on the right is not 39 years old. She's clearly much more advanced in her age. I mean, we know black don't crack. I mean, that's just a scientific fact. So I would put that woman on the right-hand side, who she tried to pass off as Beryl, and I think is the exact same person. I would say that that woman looks to be about 65. And then it looks like she's more advanced on the left-hand side. The great-grandmother, that's the same person. When I just believe my own eyes, we're looking at the same person. What do you guys think when you look at those photos?
Yeah, it's the same exact person. It's just a few years difference. But Same exact person. There is no difference. So for her to say one is her mother and one's her grandmother, that's that's not true. It doesn't look like it. Yeah, I don't fall for it. If you look at even the neck muscles as well, there's a lot about that. The shape of the ears are slightly different. The lips are slightly different as well. But again, this was her younger years and so on. So I mean, it's a bit questionable. I can look at the forehead. Plus, she has a hat, so it's hard to tell. If you were able to remove the hat, you'll be able to tell a little bit more. Uh, but I'm more of the conviction this is the same person. That's what it looks like to me. Anyway, let's keep going.
How the hell does a person who is the vice president of the United States pass off a book, claim that these people that are in her book are her black relatives, and nobody bats an eyelash or does even a peripheral search to recognize that the woman that she put forth is implausibly her grandmother? And by the way, I'm going to say this and people can be offended, but the first thing that I thought when I saw the photo of her sitting on her great grandmother's lap was that this doesn't look like a grandparent affection going on here. Like, this woman looks like she could be working for the family. Quite literally, I thought to myself, this woman looks like she could be the help. And I thought that because there's a lack of affection there. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no, like, in both of the photos, there's a lack of affection. It's just like a woman standing next to her. And I obviously know that that was a circumstance. When you're talking about a family that had a ton of plantations, which is the reality. She descends from Irish slavers. That is a fact that Kamala Harris cannot deny. She descends from wealthy Irish slavers who virtually they did own the town. They named the town. It was Hamilton Town, then it was Brownstown in Jamaica. He had over 1,000 slaves, okay? It would follow that there would be help around the house. And I'm just going to put here as a question mark, not as a fact. If they're looking at some of these photos of people who became like family and they're trying to pass them off like relatives, again, not a fact, a huge question mark, but my instinct tells me that that person is actually not her family member. And if it is, well, Kamala's got some explaining to do. How did she meet Grandma Beryl almost 20 years after Grandma Beryl died? Because Kamala Harris looks to be about 20 in that photo that she presented. Then there's another bit of a mystery, as I said. If Beryl married after her or before her wedding when she was 25 years old to the missing Newland, if anybody can find Newland, please let me know. But if Beryl married at some point Oscar Wilde Joseph Brown, where is their marriage certificate? And where is their divorce certificate? Again, I'm only prodding the narrative here because I'm going to need proof that she's black. The media has now made this a thing, and now you made it so much of a thing that you're attacking people like Janet Jackson when she asks a very reasonable question that you should be able to respond to. And now we have a verifiable lie that Kamala Harris told in her book, or a big uh-oh, because, you know, if I'm being nice, I guess sometimes you think when you're publishing a book that it's a photo of you and your grandmother that you never met or never could have met. Maybe Kamala was just confused and thought it was her grandma, but it was a grandmother that she had, again, never met.
I doubt that. I think she knew exactly what she was doing. And again, this is the media has created this. Now we have to even have this conversation. First of all, why will anybody want to vote for Kamala Harris because of her skin color? Unfortunately, we live in a climate where some people will do that, right? We just want a black woman in office. Like, first of all, I don't really care about her skin color. I just want to know if she can do the job. That's what I care about. You know, identity politics is kind of repulsive to me as far as I'm concerned. Now, there might be some place where you can say, yeah, it's kind of good to know, you know, certain people are in office because you can identify with them, you know, representation matters and so on. But the fact of the matter is, what really matters at the end of the day is whether or not she can actually do the job, she can perform in her duties, and how could we be certain if she will ever do that? Well, it's very easy. Look at her record. What has been her record prior to? She's been in office for this many years. She's been next to Biden, and a lot of the Biden's policies she supported, she's never denounced any of them until today. And she said, one first day in office, she will fix this and fix that. Well, she can fix them now. First of all, if she cannot do that and cannot convince anyone based on these policies, also in her historical account, in the candidacy at this moment, if she cannot win the presidency based on these factors, her skin color can do it for me. And I think the same might be true for a lot of other people who's watching. Anyway, let's keep listening.
Media should be on this, and they should be asking her this question: how did you make this significant of a blunder in your book? And isn't it quite ironic that every photo that you have presented, two of which look like they're the exact same person, one aged on, which begs the question, is that even Kamala Harris in her lap? I don't know. Again, we're at the beginning of this investigation. But it's interesting that amongst all of the relatives, so many Irish white slavers, the only photos that she chose to put in this book are the ones that make it look as though she might be Black. And we have just significantly and without question debunked one of those photos. Also, there's something else that I notice about Beryl and Oscar, this alleged married couple, right? Our alleged husband and wife. Each of them are listed as having a lot of siblings. Oscar's siblings are named Hildred May Harris, Newton Alexander Harris, and Ina Doreen Harris. I cannot find a single photo of these siblings. Now, why am I looking for it? Well, because people take family photos all the time. Tons of this stuff is on the internet. I mean, one of those people lived until 2005. Ina Doreen Harris allegedly lived until 2005. I would just like to see a photo to confirm that these are Black relatives. I just want to confirm their race. Can't find a trace. Similarly for Beryl Finnegan has siblings too. Their names are Abraham Judah Finnegan, Noah Pendergast Finnegan, Bernard Washington Finnegan, and Gloria Eugenie Hill. Where are they? Or where are any photos of them, presuming that they've passed? Where are the photos of them? They've got to be somewhere, right? Something very suspicious is going on. I don't know how it is plausible, guys. Do not allow the media to gaslight us. It is not difficult, okay, for a person that is running for president of the United States to have a tidy background. This is my mom. This is my dad. This is my grandma. That it always seems to be the case that right before they run, they introduce like one or two photos that they allege are from their childhood. This is my grandma. This is my mom. And if you ask any more questions, I'm going to scream at you and call you a racist, is completely ridiculous. We now have a scandal on our hands, okay? And again, this is the tip of the iceberg. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep looking for these relatives. I'm going to confirm that all of these people are in fact Black. I find it strange, just as a little tidbit, that when you go on these genealogy websites, you can see that there's somebody managing the profile. All of the people that are managing the profile for Kamala's relatives are white. What interest would white people around the United States have in managing the profile for this Jamaica family? Unless what Janet Jackson said was true, and that these are her white Irish relatives, and she's been hiding that fact by trying to introduce some random photos of a woman and purporting that that woman is her grandmother. Again, if she's been with you throughout your entire life, Kamala, you could drop some more photos, but no matter what, you lied in your book, okay? You lied in your book. That woman died in 1960, and you were born in 1964, and I find that to be extremely problematic. Like I said, I'm in these streets, just like you, Kamala. So if you want to come out and tell the truth, I'm going to be on this. Otherwise, you might as well come up with your storyline, because I don't tend to let go when I have the scent of somebody who's telling a lie. All right, guys, we will pause.
Wow. I mean, I think she's toast. Now, the question is, will that information change the voters, the voting bloc who are thinking about voting for Kamala Harris on the basis of her skin color? I'll be honest with you, I don't think so. Let me explain why. Some people will believe what they want to believe, even though it might be a lie. The facts really don't matter to some people. So there might be few, maybe 10% who will say, I'm out because of this information that's been released. And this video has 1.3 million views, so he's doing well. And we're not even talking about podcasts and Spotify and all these other areas where this is also being talked about. For some reason, this might not even change anything. It might not even matter for some people. But people like myself and many other Black people who like to reason from cause to effect instead of looking at skin tones and just beautiful smile and laughter to make their decisions, we're going to look at this and say, yeah, there is no way I can prescribe to that. And I wish it wasn't about that. I wish her personality, her character, and her policies were the things that we focused on. I'll be honest with you. I care more about policies. Trump policies are much better than what I've heard from Kamala Harris. I am not sold on her ideologies at all. And I think the same might be true for a lot of people that are watching this channel. And I mean, we want to see our country get fixed, right? We want to see things better for this country. And I think this ideology over skin color is not the solution. It doesn't get things done. But the fact they made it about that, this is why Candace Owens had to go to work. And I'm so appreciative of this information as well. I'm going to link it in the description below, show her some love. And I'll tell you what, pray for the leaders of our country. Pray for those in power, that the Lord will use them in a positive way, so that we can live a decent life in this country. But at the same time, I'm very concerned when I look at what's happening in America, and I read my Bible. I said, man, we need Jesus. ASAP, we need Jesus, and we need him more than ever before. Anyway, share your thought and perspective with me. I want to hear from you. Where do you stand when it comes to this video? Like and subscribe to the page if you happen to be new. Click the bell icon for more. Have a good one. Bye.